On my previous videos, I've been talking about how the alien disclosure psyop will happen during the Trump presidency over the next 4 years. We talked about how this is related to the Venom movie, The Last Dance, as well as the Netflix series, The Last Dance. But what I realized that I left out was more information about how this last dance symbolism relates to the Bible. This is important because the Bible uses the metaphor of a wedding to describe how he is coming back for us. That's Jesus, of course. So I will begin with reading Revelation 19, verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And since we are talking about a wedding as a metaphor, the last dance, so to speak, at a wedding is between the groom and the bride. So, this wedding symbolism is related to Trump losing his shoe, as this Masonic symbolism is tied to renouncing a wedding, as well as renouncing the land that one would receive via the wedding. This implies that Trump is renouncing the wedding with God and the promised land we would receive in heaven. So let's look at some more examples of that in order to better flesh out this whole thing. So, speaking further on the Masonic symbol of the shoe, the use of this symbol is derived from an ancient custom of the Jews, of which we read about in the book of Ruth. In the account of the transaction between Boaz and his kinsman, who was nearer in relationship to Ruth than himself, concerning the redemption of the land that had been Elimelech's, and concerning the marriage, in concordance with the Jewish law, of Ruth of the Moabites, the widowed daughter-in-law of Elimelech. The transaction took place in the gate of their city, in the presence of 10 men of the elders of the city. And when the kinsman refused to redeem the land and to marry the youthful widow, saying, I cannot redeem it, lest I mar mine own inheritance, redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. He drew off his shoe and gave it to Boaz. And this formality is thus spoken of by the narrator. Now, this was the manner in the former time of Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things. A man drew off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. This was done in concordance with a law which we read about in the book of Deuteronomy, and in which probably an ancient custom was sanctioned. It was a custom somewhat similar to that long enforced by the law of Scotland in the completion of sales of land or of mortgages of land and of the handling of the earth and stone from the one party to the other, the transference of the handful of earth and stone being in token of the transference of the right of property. So the kinsman who relinquished his right may be understood as saying to Boaz, I give over to thee all my right in this matter, as fully as I now give thee this shoe. I divest myself of it as completely as I do of this shoe. And the elders of the city, having witnessed this transaction, the bargain was completed and could not be changed. So to put this more plainly, by Trump giving up his shoe, symbolically, it was like he was renouncing the wedding to God. And by doing so, he was renouncing his inheritance in the land, i.e., of heaven. So while these movies are related to Trump and the alien deception, they are also related to weddings and a last dance at a wedding. Furthermore, the way we use the term the last dance, it can also be interpreted as the end or the last chance. That said, let's end this with one last biblical verse. Revelation 21, verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.